Lovely to see you this morning, Chancellor. Look, now I know you've done various broadcast rounds where you've refused to say what's happening on Wednesday. There's been talk of you cutting IHT. How about unfreezing these tax bands? You can't be happy about the idea of people on 40,000 or above, some of them might be teachers, some of them might be nurses, actually being fiscally dragged into paying more tax. It's a stealth tax and it needs to stop, doesn't it?
Well, good morning, Camilla. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about the measures that I'm going to be announcing to Parliament on Wednesday, because I have to announce those to Parliament first, and rightly so. But there is a very big dividing line between us and the Labour Party on tax, and I'm really pleased you've mentioned it, because I do believe that if we're going to be a dynamic, thriving, energetic, fizzing economy, we need low tax, and we need taxes to be lower than they are at the moment. And the reason I believe that is if you look around the world, the most dynamic, successful economies at the moment are in North America and Asia, where they tend to have lower taxes. So I know,
but our tax burden is...
I'm only going to do it in a...
Our tax burden is the highest since the Second World War. People watching this, Chancellor, will be staring at the television and listening to the radio in disbelief. Taxes have never been higher than under this Conservative government. You talk about Labour. There was polling in the Mail yesterday to suggest that most people in this country now think that Labour are the party of economic competence.
Well, the truth is, and, there's no getting around this, taxes have gone up in nearly all countries, and our taxes are still lower than places like France, Germany and Italy, because we've had a once-in-a-century pandemic, a 1970s-style oil shock. But the difference is that we do want to bring them down, and Labour put up taxes in every single one of their 13 budgets. Conservatives cut taxes when we responsibly can. So let me tell you, I'm not obviously going to tell you what measures I'm going to do, but let me tell you my approach. First of all, we're not going to do anything irresponsible, particularly by which I mean anything that fuels inflation, because we had a big victory last week when we delivered the Prime Minister's pledge to halve inflation. When he and I came to office, it was over 11%. Now it's 4.6%. People watching at home, their number one concern, they say in poll after poll, is the cost of living crisis. This makes a difference. So we're going to do this responsibly. And then the second thing is my priority on Wednesday is growth, because having made good progress on inflation, we can move to the next part of our plan, which is to unlock much higher levels of growth. And I will say this to you, Camilla, because I know you've written about this before. There is far too much negativity, pessimism and declinism about the British economy. We have got a lot going for us. I'll give you one example. We have got a technology sector that's the third biggest in the world after the United States and China. Technology is going to shape all of our lives. We do it really well. So, if we're going to get taxes down, growing the economy is part of the solution, but it's also part of the way that we can afford to get taxes down as well.
You talk about kind of the talk of declinism. That's not necessarily coming from the general public. It's coming from people like former Bank of England Governor Mark Carney and others, perhaps even ex-Treasury officials that seem to have wanted to keep tax up in the first place. You've talked in general about inflation. I've never been able to understand why the government can claim the rewards of bringing inflation down but not take responsibility for it going up.
Well, we all know why it went up. We had the invasion of Ukraine and a massive spike in energy prices and food prices globally. When you're faced with 11.1% inflation, as Rishi Sunak and I were when we arrived in Downing Street, the government does have to take very difficult decisions alongside the Bank of England to bring it down. Now, what I had to do a year ago, in a frankly very, very difficult autumn statement for a Conservative Chancellor, is I had to put some taxes up, I had to cut spending, because I had to get borrowing under control, because you can't get inflation down if you're pumping money into the economy. That actually fuels higher prices. So we've had to play our part in the government to get to where we've got to. And we don't want to throw that away now we've made such good progress.
Although some people might be scratching their heads wondering how on earth you promote growth by charging businesses 6% more on their corporation tax bills. Why would you set up a business in the UK today when you're tied up in red tape, you're paying more corporation tax and business rates? Why would you?
Well, you were talking about tax thresholds going up in the beginning of this interview, Camilla, and when I took those decisions on tax, I thought it was fair that the pain was evenly balanced amongst businesses and amongst individuals. I wanted to spread those difficult decisions fairly. But I do actually agree with you that one of the most important things for us as a country is to make sure that our taxes are competitive in an area that doesn't, frankly, win you any votes, but is very important, which is business taxes. We need businesses from all over the world to say the UK is a great place to set up a business, a great place to invest. And you'll be hearing lots from me on Wednesday about how we can remove barriers to business investment. One of them we've announced today, actually. We're going to completely overhaul the planning rules, because I meet businesses up and down the country who say it just takes a ridiculous amount of time to get planning approval. We're going to say if local authorities don't meet their statutory timelines, they give businesses the money back. And they process the application free of charge. So we are going to do a lot of things that I hope will make a big difference.
They might want 6% back off their profit margins, Chancellor, but I appreciate the explanation. Good luck on Wednesday. We'll be watching with interest. Thank you for joining me this morning.